I'd like to call today's Planning Commission meeting to order. All members are present. We have established quorum. If you do plan on speaking at all during today's meeting, I do need to administer an oath, and you simply need to say "I do" when I'm done administering the oath. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth to this commission? Thank you. First on the agenda is the disposition of the last meeting's minutes, which are attached to the back of your agenda. I believe Shar did send those out yesterday, so if you had a chance to review them previously, good for you.
I just have a couple of cleanup items under the report from the director, code director John. For the code officer training, that's all one item, not a number 5. And then I do believe you meant to say a good health policy regarding the continued fluoridation of the water.
And I'll abstain because I wasn't here, so I can't. I didn't get a chance to watch the movie.
Any other comments?
Really, it should be 6 items. Code officer training would be 4, and Keep America Beautiful programs is something totally different. Is that what you were saying, Paul?
The 13 County Collaborative is for the Keep America Beauty.
Right, there you go.
Okay, so you were, because he also had additional code officer training, which was
Right.
with the
Okay.
soil and water for land development, correct?
That is, well, no, that was the Lance we sent to the site
Right.
hazard stuff,
Okay.
which was at the Wayne National Forest location. That's probably, or actually, no, they had it at over here at the County Health Department building.
Okay.
So I was incorrect when I said that. Thank you.
All right. After those corrections are made, all those in favor of I recommend that we approve the minutes. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes with the corrections, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Move on to cases. Number 1204, Greenleaf Landscape. Plans were available here at the city office as well as distributed digitally. I think most of us probably did review it digitally or not. The reviews from the city staff is also attached to the, if you keep going after the minutes there, you have the application for Title 41, small site plan. There are some larger ones available here. A few drawings of the, looks like the greenhouses, and then following along is the staff report. Mr. Paskey or Mr. Logue, would whoever been guiding this development, if you'd like to just briefly go through the city review, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, I can. As you know, Mr. Lang was here a couple weeks ago and introduced the project to the Planning Commission. They submitted their site plan and got everything into us a couple weeks ago for the application for today. The project consists of the renovation of an old miniature golf course building, construction of 3 29 by 72 greenhouse canopies right behind the golf course building. Previous use of the property was a miniature golf course, driving range, batting cages, drive-in movie theater, but has been vacant for many years. The adjacent property in the north is also owned by Greenleaf and is currently out of the city limits. And Mr. Lang indicates that he has no plans for that property at this time. The project's located at 340 Columbus Road. It's also known as Theater Lane up through there. It is B3 general business zone. The land to the north of it, as I said, is a vacant land owned by Mr. Lang outside the city limits. To the east side is the Columbus Road Route 33 interchange. The Days Inn Hotel abuts on the south side, and the west side of the property is the Hocking River. The site plan was developed by all the city departments: code enforcement, development, engineering, public works, city planner, fire, and police. As I said, the property is zone B3, so it's an acceptable use in that zone. Setbacks were okay. The height, parking is more than adequate. I did make a note that the dumpster needs to be shown on the prints. I believe that is on there now, and I think it was on there then, and I may have missed it. He had it farther back than I thought. It will be on the shade tree agenda for the month of April. Can't imagine it'd be a big problem, though. I might get with Mr. Ingram on our own and seeing how it's a landscaping company. Shade tree shouldn't be an issue, but Mr. Logue has met with the applicant many a times, or a couple times out at the property in regards to the floodplain, because it is in floodplain and floodway. They have verified a demarcation line between the two, and nothing is in the floodway at this time, from what they presented to us. Athens Fire, all that the Chief Troxel required was the lockbox per the AFD. No issues with the police department. Engineering and Public Works, Andy's comments are included here. No comments from the street department. The storm drainage, they just wanted to note that there is an existing 24-inch corrugated metal pipe that runs across Ted Doherty's property and Greenleaf's property, and is of unknown origin and not a city storm line, so that we know that. I do not know, I tried to get a hold of Andy this morning, but as we all know, he's a little busy. Whether or not there is city storm up there, I don't know how or what that would be tied into.
I spoke with Andy on that issue about 20 minutes ago just to confirm. He said, to his knowledge, there is not, but the site plans are showing that stormwater should be naturally percolating in to the river, so he didn't have any concerns with storm specifically.
Water comments, Greenleaf Landscaping has coordinated directly with City of Athens Water Service Supervisor to obtain 2 water meters, one for irrigation purposes and one for domestic water supply. That configuration is satisfactory. The sanitary system, the sanitary situation is unchanged, and Andy does have his letter included here. The city understands that Greenleaf has obtained permission to use the Days Inn lift station, and he did submit to us a copy of the agreement for our records, that we do have that they understand that sanitary does run through Days Inn's property. Also, it's not included in the minutes. We did discuss this at Wellhead at the last meeting, although it's not in the Wellhead protection. The list of materials that Mr. Lang gave to us and everything it is proposing was satisfactory with the Wellhead Committee.
Okay.
So to go back to the water, because Andy references his previous November letter, but there are no wells proposed, is my understanding now.
That, no irrigation wells at this time, that is
Okay.
correct.
And there's no plan for them, or there is a plan for them?
I'll let Mr. Lang speak to that.
That's why we plan on using the 2 in from the city. That's why we put that in.
Mr. Lang, if you could just come up to the table there. I just want to make sure you're picked up on the microphone. Table was fine.
Okay. And the canopies that you talk about, the greenhouse, are out of the floodway?
They are out of the
They're out of the floodway, and without a doubt, I would have to look at them as being a best practice for a floodplain, because they're just beams going up with no walls around them, so they don't have to be elevated or there's no importation of fill required with that.
Okay.
So it's a good practice.
And may I ask, Mr. Lang, would the operations be conducted within the city limits?
Yes.
Okay.
She's asking for tax.
I was not allowed to ask that question.
We all do that. So.
You're not allowed to tell me, right?
Is your business mostly for the contractor, or is it retail level? What is it exactly?
Well, it's mainly for our own crews.
Okay.
We're a design-build company, and we'll take materials out of there every day, although we will run a retail operation out of there.
Okay. I was just wondering about the signage that might occur down the road.
He's already made an application for signage, and it will be on the roof, is what he was applying. So you can see it from 33.
And the Wellhead Protection Committee has no problem with any of this?
We
Correct.
looked at the MSDS sheets, and
Okay.
there's nothing that's prohibited. I don't have any other further questions.
And the site is over 5 acres, so it satisfies the B3 condition as well.
You don't want to put the drive-in back in? No?
I mean, you can go together and do it, maybe.
Okay, just wondered. I forgot that used to be a drive in there.
I didn't. If you ever went, the mosquitoes were enough
Mosquitoes
to
would
drive
kill
you
you.
away.
I do. I remember the mosquitoes. I forgot entirely. Used to be one in Reno too. Is that you have a business over in Marietta, right?
Yes.
Is it on 7 or is it up?
No, it's on Route 60
Okay, up Muskego.
north
Okay.
towards Tavola. Yeah.
Is this,
Nancy?
I have a question. Go ahead.
No,
You
go
want,
ahead.
Margie. On the 12th, the memo of the 12th of, yeah, it is the 12th. It says that Greenleaf Landscaping has coordinated directly with the City of Athens Water Services Supervisor to obtain 2 meters, one for irrigation purposes and one for domestic water supply. And then in Andy's letter, he talks about a dual plumbing system and backflow. I assume that's taken care of.
I thought that was the same question that I had asked, that it's my
Then you
understanding.
said he was going to, oh, okay, so Mr. Lang will be answering that shortly, I guess, huh?
No, he did.
What did he say?
He's using the 2-inch for the irrigation. Did I capture
Correct.
capture
It's
that
got a
right?
separate backflow on it.
So he's using
City
city
water.
water for both purposes?
Mhm.
Okay, that's good.
And backflow is always a concern. So.
Yeah, I understand. Do you have any intention of moving anything into the floodway at all? I mean, is that something that we might see happen in the future?
I really don't think so. Where that floodway's at, I think we're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, if there is in the future, it would be, we own the parcel we own in Marietta, it's the same thing, it's 5 foot in the flood. It's exact
right there.
duplicate to this property. We store trees in it, which are healed in.
Mhm.
That's, if we use it, that's what it would be.
Okay.
Okay.
RJ?
just also wanted to make sure on the letter from Andy Stone, just in the sanitary sewer, and I think you may have addressed it earlier, but just to double check the agreement that you might need with the Days Inn as far as the pump station.
Yeah, we've got a signed contract with them
Okay.
that we drew up. They've got it on file.
If you wish, I can read it to you. Sewer line
What you said
agreement
was
between
done.
adjacent property owners, Days Inn of Athens and Greenleaf Landscapes of Athens, both located on Columbus Road, concerning the use of Days Inn sewer lift station. Sewer line at Greenleaf location at 340 Columbus Road, Athens, is attached to the lift station owned by Days Inn. It is agreeable by both parties that this arrangement is satisfactory until other arrangements are made by the city. Signed off by both parties.
Okay.
I wonder if there's electricity in that.
Other comments? Questions?
I'd place a motion to approve the Greenleaf Landscape Title 41 project with the condition, the singular condition is only Shade Tree Commission?
Yeah. Well, sign permits and use permit, which is all standard after this anyways. So.
Okay.
I'll second that if need be.
Okay.
Unless
Any
somebody else wants to.
further discussion? And all those in favor of approving case number 12-4, this Title 41 site plan review, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. There's no
Thank
other
you.
discussion on that case. We'll move on to communications.
Al, call me tomorrow, please.
We have a couple holdovers from our last meeting. One was the Far East Side rezoning request, where we left that item was to try to determine when we could hold a public hearing, and that was based on how soon we could get notices to the affected property owners. Mr. Pasker, Mr. Lowe, you want to be able to find out any more information?
I don't have
Okay.
quick information on that, but I do have a copy of our city code, which can tell you exactly when we have to do that. Charlene typically arranges for public notice if it's needed.
Okay.
I thought one of our discussion was to hold a public hearing whether it's required or not, because it's a significant
Yeah,
change,
I
but-
think we weren't, I mean, we're not required to hold a public hearing. We thought it was just, like you said, a significant, I guess, request that merited holding a public hearing by the planning commission, but that was of our own sort of, the commission members' opinion. And I think we just wanted to have notification made to the property owners so we could get a decent enough turnout and get a good enough idea of what, we should be our recommendation to make to City Council. So, I mean, I think, how quickly can notifications be put together?
The 230909, notice of public hearing in newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
Notice of a public hearing required in section 23.09.09 shall be given by City Council. Now it says City Council, but the requirement is if the Planning Commission wants to have a public hearing on a rezoning request, they are to follow the same process as City Council.
Okay.
It shall be by City Council by at least one publication in one or more newspapers of general circulation in the city. Said notice shall be published at least 30 days before the date of the required hearing. The published notice shall set forth the time and place of the public hearing and a summary of the proposed amendment. 230910, notice of property owners by City Council. If the proposed amendment intends to rezone 10 or fewer parcels of land, as listed on the tax duplicate, written notice of the hearing shall be mailed by the clerk of council by first-class mail at least 20 days before the date of the public hearing to all owners of property within, contiguous to, and directly across the street from such area proposed to be rezoned to the address of such owners appearing on the county auditor's current tax list. Now again, that is if the proposed amendment intends to rezone 10 or fewer parcels.
Right, this
Okay.
would clearly be more than 10, so.
Correct.
All right, so if we were to go by the 30 days and it's just a published notification and not a individual written notification to each address, we'd be looking at May 2nd as the first Wednesday in May.
Well,
If we were to get the,
And then there's also a question as to how long it takes Charlene from submitting for publication, how
Mhm.
many days lag time she needs on that.
well, that would give, if today's 21st, I guess if we got a notification out by the 28th,
Right.
1 week from today,
That would be pretty
that would give at least 30 days.
Are we talking about having one for the regular time now, or an evening one, or just any difference?
I think an evening one does work best for getting the most attendees that would be affected. So I'd still suggest keep it on Wednesday, but just move it to evening time.
And the next question of that, we did kind of a public hearing, really an informational one earlier, and that was at the community center.
Right.
Do you anticipate having it here, or do we need to coordinate with the community center in terms of the projects and activities?
Again, it makes sense to have it in the area, the hood,
Okay.
as it were. Although, we're almost setting it today prior to our discussion of what we're going to look at.
That's
Can
where
we-
I was
Can
gonna
we
go
turn
with
that
this.
around and maybe do that portion first?
I thought we were on agreement at the last meeting that this is what, barring any comments from the public hearing, the request that as is what we were going to go with.
But I believe the planner prepared maps so that you could see greater and,
They're all maps that you guys have seen before,
okay.
of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
There's nothing new.
this map dated September 20th, 2011, is that the one we're focusing on? Is that what I'm seeing? I was gone for less.
Yeah, that's where I understood where we left it off at the last meeting. If someone could correct me, I could have.
But there's 4 basic proposals that I have, right? There's one that Paul submitted or has proposed, one that you did as is, and then
Right.
one that Mr. Dill proposed.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we accepted was what when we discussed last, we talked about accepting the change that they presented.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Yeah, I'd
where
like to
I
have-
thought we had left. It was going with what the citizen requested.
Mine wasn't a proposal. All I did was show common
Right.
ownership of properties and how the line could be marked there. It's not necessarily a proposal. If the commission wishes to go differently or that it's not in line with what they requested, that's fine.
Well, yeah, and
I
I
was
think
just showing common ownership of parcels is all I did.
right at the last meeting we brought that up, and I think Nancy had pointed out. It's one thing. Again, we agree that that's what it is now, and this doesn't preclude them from continuing to operate as it's currently zone before change would take effect. It would just change, future development of the site if it were to change hands. So I think we were all okay with, again, going with the citizen request and then fine tuning after those comments. One of the problems I think of the last one, we didn't get, the comments weren't clear enough to how we could fine tune it. And I think if we just present it, instead of where we presented too many options, just focus on this one, I think it's going to help with each individual decision that we make. And then hopefully we could go ahead and recommend something to City Council pretty quickly after that.
So the proposed changes from Mr. Dill and that neighborhood, most of that, what I'm looking at here, of course, and as I recall, the R2 south of Jacobs, most of it turns into R1. And of course, some of the B3s change as well. I think one of the issues I was hearing, of course, is contiguous lots. And you're saying these would be grandfathered in, but if they're empty lots, they could not develop it. And I think that would be the only, some of the business people on East State Street might be concerned about that, or did they speak up at the time? I mean, at the last meeting?
Yeah, I'd have to go back through the minutes, and my memory's not serving me well on whether there was a...
At our public meeting?
Yeah, about people holding vacant lots that were intending to develop it into an art
Business.
use that was only permitted in an R2 or a B3, and if that use is changing either to a R2 or an R1, if that would...
There was one business
It was
owner,
Mitch Endick.
Mitch Endick,
Okay.
and he does have, with this proposal, 8 parcels being downgraded from B3 to R2, or upgraded, however you want to look at it, including his car wash, so I suspect he would have something to say.
Okay, and for public hearing purposes, or this particular one, we'll have to end up with a legal description. Is that how it works?
There's 2 parcels.
No? Actually, parcel by parcel, or
Yeah, I would
lot
think you'd
by
have to do
lot?
it lot by lot if there's a change to each lot, what that change is.
Right, receiver withheld.
But those are R2s. And it leave it at R2.
Historically, what was there first, the residential area or the business stores along East State Street?
You got me.
That's interesting you asked that question. I thought of that coming over here, and I was going to look, and I will find that out before the next meeting. I'm curious as to when the businesses went in, when the houses went in relation to when that area was annexed.
Right.
Because I would want to make sure that business still has room to breathe in there in terms of any decrease. In lieu of the city annexing more property, which I don't think it is crazy about doing at this point. There's not a lot of business available area to develop or redevelop, and since I think whether people like it or not, East State Street has become the new Court Street, as it were. It is the new downtown area, and certainly of equal value as Court Street. And so I would be concerned about how much any proposal might be used to drastically diminish the availability of business to redevelop the property, because a lot of those buildings are getting old. And that would be something that at some point somebody wants to remodel, tear something down, and possibly expand a little bit within reason. Those are considerations that I'd like to make sure are built into whatever we decide as well.
Okay.
Let me ask one question real quick. Paul, you'd mentioned that if it's 10 parcels or less, it would have to be a written notice to each property owner. Is that per change, or is this looked at as an overall change?
That's
You know
a
what I
good
mean? 'Cause
question.
that B3 to R2 change might be only 10.
It's important to note, actually, and we put this back in that packet for today. We are looking at, there's actually 3 zoning changes that would be occurring. Some parcels would be downzoned from R2 to R1. Some parcels would be downzoned from B3 to R2. And there are a few parcels that would be upzoned from R2 to B3. So if you look at it as actually 3 rezonings all tied in at one. It looks to me that based on the R2 up to B3, there's 2 or 3 parcels. So they would be required public written notice.
That's okay.
In relation to B3 going down to R2,
Looks like from this map,
it
maybe
appears as
12
if
or
it's
something.
more than 10. However, most of those are owned by one. May only be a few property owners. Mitch Endick, like we said, he owns roughly 8 of those parcels. So it's only a few property owners, and then the rest would be, 60 or 70 or more parcels. So that would not require public written mailed notice. But probably anything going from B3 to R2 and R2 to B3 should receive mail.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got 3 levels there.
Right. Now, most people, I guess we could say maybe we should just send mailers to everybody, because if you're looking at the language in 230910, if it's less than 10 parcels, you have to send written notice 20 days before the hearing to all owners of property within, contiguous to, and directly across the street. So even if their zone is not being changed, the neighbors are supposed to have notice.
Right.
So once we start saying, well, these neighbors are going to get it, I guess I would leave that up to the commission to determine that. But if we got to send out 20 notices or 30 notices, why not send out another 30? Right.
But they're all certified, right?
All certified, Sally.
It is.
No, not the
The councils will be certified?
councils.
No, it says by first class mail. Written notice of the hearing shall be mailed by the clerk of council by first class mail at least 20 days before the day of the public hearing.
Usually when we do the mailings in council, they come back with this many that weren't the right address.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the newspaper is a much better option, at least for the R2 to R1.
Yeah, I think I felt it it may push us back longer to how long it takes to get a mailing out to everyone, and then if we don't even get that good of a success rate in what we're addressing, I don't know if that's a good
Put our
use of the
Title
time.
41 signs out.
I was just
various
thinking the
locations
sign
out
could,
there.
put the
Signs, he's supposed to take the political signs, turn them around. put 'em up.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a lot of them down there.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, if we could, I think that's a great idea, doing the signs at the, intersections entering off of East State Street into that neighborhood would be very useful. So what we'll do is there'll be mail notifications to the B3 to R2 changes and R2 to B3 property owners, plus the ones contiguous and adjacent and I guess across the street. So again, that would be, some of the people that are being zoned down from or being proposed to be zoned from R2 to R1 would receive mailings just because they're next to those other ones. But the mailing, I would assume, would just address the change of the adjacent property owner and not the change also being proposed for them.
I think across the street, isn't it one management company? Is that Continental, or who does that?
Actually, a big part of it's the rec center.
Oh, yes, that's true.
And-
It's us.
We'll notify that ourselves. And RJ, I just want to say, I hear what you're saying about the businesses and being able to protect that, but I was in this neighborhood again. Again, I have a family member interest in one of those residences down there on Saturday noon, and you couldn't move in terms of a vehicle. People were walking their dogs, children were riding their bikes, families were riding. And
Where are you going to
it's
put
just
business?
there.
I mean, if I lived, when I lived in Miami, Florida, I lived across the street from Miami International Airport. And the people on occasion would be screaming about how noisy the jets were. Well, you don't buy a house next to an airport. And, what I was asking John is if there's already a business community that was established there, then where do we find the balance? And that's basically what I'm asking about, is where do we find the balance in what the neighborhood, the residential neighborhood would like versus the business neighborhood? Where do we find and certainly we can go back historically and blame previous city councils and planning commissions for, not thinking about these things in terms of, what is this neighborhood going to look like 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And now we're at that point where I agree that there is a lot of congestion in there. But, what I'm asking is that supposed to come then? I guess the primary area that I'm looking at would be, for instance, well, it's marked as Hardee's, but it would be Donato's Pizza now. The car wash area seems to be lined as a change from a B3 to R2. So,
I mean, affecting an existing business, I can get that, but in terms, I'm still for
but in terms
protecting
of
the
if somebody wants to
neighborhood.
tear that car wash down, and Donato's, for whatever reason, decided to relocate, or what have you, they closed down, somebody wants to make use of that property, is that something that, I'm just asking, is that in the city's interest to help maintain so that we do have that business presence down there? Or, again, if it's in the city's interest to eliminate it and just to maximize the whole residential experience there, then that again is up to the rest of the planning commission and the community. Can, for instance, a number of those streets are wider than some of the normal streets that we have in town in Athens. Can you make better use of? Can you put sidewalks in the streets like what is it Grandview,
Grand Park.
Grand Park, something like that. Why couldn't something like that take sidewalks?
I was told Grand Park was made wide so they could put planes down it.
Right. Well, we don't need planes now, so this is a more practical use where we start to put sidewalks into some of these areas and start to reduce foot traffic on the actual streets. If you're going to really make it a planned residential experience, then sidewalks are a part of that.
I get that, but
in
we
that
have
area.
a lot of areas in town that still do not have sidewalks.
Yeah.
That's true where you don't have, but you don't have the congestion that you're talking about.
Which is partially due to the existing zoning. I can't think of another neighborhood, help me out, that has that much encroachment. If you go down Richland Avenue, there's a real separation. Stimson Avenue, you get outside, you're on Morris, what have you, East State, meaning the upper portion of East State. It's just the frontage in terms of businesses. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, right now this was zoning request, it basically 12 existing B3 zone properties, or again, I'm assuming it's 12 on this map, are being changed to an R2, and R2 would be changed to B3, so it would be a net loss of 10 business properties. Some of them are vacant, without business on them. Others have duplexes on them currently and
The
not have
two
business.
R2s that are being changed to B3 they have parking lots on it for the businesses that are in front of them now. So
Right.
that's the reason I think they did that. The vacant properties that, even though they're in common ownership with business owners on State Street, are already in an R2. So it's not as if they didn't purchase those
Right.
knowing they were R2s. So, and their request is to stay R2. So,
Okay.
I would also point out a lot of these buildings are on a certain lifestyle cycle of businesses where they're fading slowly. Whether it's Donato's, of course, is the first change, but you look, I do not know what the plans are for Larry Shea's. I look at the Chinese market there is actually a building that probably was something different a long time ago.
The furniture store that's on East State, or on Graham and East State, right?
Mhm.
So,
So
yeah, I
these
think-
are
I-
going to transition.
Right, so I envision, certainly within, maybe 15, 20 years, that neighborhood, that street-wide, business-wise, is going to look different. And, are you going to allow for a certain flexibility in there, or are you really going to minimize, a business owner's ability to
I suspect what
maximize their property value?
I suspect what they'll first run into is probably parking requirements as a limitation.
Right.
After that will be, any redesign will start limiting curb cuts in general.
Right.
Just because of the traffic issues in terms of density there.
Right.
So I don't see an intensification or a drawing into the present R2 to
Right.
maximize that. If anything, I see more you know, I look at where's the Sears is right now. That's got empty spaces in it. I look at we've got several empty businesses further up the line. Again, this area as a business is primarily a traffic driving population in terms of business. So that's going to keep stretching out as time goes on. We have the marketing on East State Street that is not at capacity. We have the Sears building, I don't even know what they call that mall right now. That's not at capacity too. So there are going to be changes and changes in conditions, and
Well,
probably sooner than later.
Well, yeah,
I agree.
but when you do mention the parking, and that's exactly my point, when you do mention the additional restrictions that a new business or a current business wanting to restructure the facility is going to run into, they actually may need more property rather than less in terms of development there. So, you know, are you basically talking about the eventuality of this section of East State Street basically becoming more residential in nature and just absolutely minimizing the business, the community on that street?
Again, the comprehensive plan is trying to preserve this neighborhood, I believe.
I view it more as protecting the existing. I mean, both protecting business still, but also protecting what is the reality of the residential
Right, but
area.
if we're putting more restrictions on business at this point with more parking, more green space, et cetera, yeah, again, are we cutting into reality? Are we really cutting into what a business owner will be able to do with the existent property, or with the existent where we have the zones the way we have them at this point?
Well, I guess we'll hear from them.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I mean, I definitely hear your concerns, RJ. I think they're very valid. I mean, I think the type of development that we've seen on East State Street in the past, 20 years is a lot different than what these business developments are. These, predate that, where it was, a lot more walkable. The parking requirements were not as large as well. I mean, it really would seem like you'd have to go all the way back to Jacobs and have that section from East State Street to Jacobs to really make the type of business development that's occurring now. And I don't think this neighborhood really merits, there's a lot of good housing in that area, that stock that I think we need to preserve here, especially when we look at other parts of town where the housing stock isn't as good. So I think it is very critical that we do try to protect this housing stock as much as we can, where the housing stock in this neighborhood is better than the business stock.
If I read this correctly, most of the things that we're talking about going from B3 to R2 are duplexes already, with the exception of the car wash. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it looks like car wash, and another property there behind the car wash that sort of.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
basically,
they're doing
this
the
whole
self
thing
shop?
was designed to reduce duplexes.
Exactly.
Or eliminate duplexes altogether. So I'm just asking in terms of, again, going back to the comprehensive plan, which says a confluence of different things, okay? When you really, I mean, it's very contradictory, and as I've said before, and, where it tries to address alternative housing. And, we've been through that whole argument about R2 helping to preserve duplexes as an alternative housing format. So again, if you're reducing that, then my question still is, where does new business go? Where does alternative housing go once we consolidate the zoning that we have here into something that the neighborhood, or most of the neighborhood, is pushing for? And I want to make sure that when we make decisions, and recommendations, I should say, that we have that in mind, because I think that that's what has hurt planning in this city for the last 40 or 50 years, is that people did not look at what was realistically in the future and what we really need. So, if we don't want housing and rentals to be the sole business model in Athens, you know, what property are we making available, what space are we making available for business to coexist, to reasonably coexist with residential needs. And you know, I don't see a lot. So this is why, you know, I'm saying I'm on favor of protecting the residential value of that section, but at the same time, I wanted to ensure that, you know, I still see that as a viable area for business and in the future, and to make sure that property owners are protected in that way as well.
If I was looking at this and looking at the map behind you, I'd say the endangered species is really R2 and not the business zones. You look at the business manufacturing zones, the B3s, and the manufacturing, there's more purple and brown up on that map behind you than yellow.
Right.
So, you know, the thrust of this is actually to down zone the R2s is obviously the major portion of this. After that, I think any transition of the businesses in that B zone is probably going to be it's going to be difficult on one level, because what we see there is the traffic congestion, which impinges on most of the development, orderly development that's going to occur. We'll probably have to take a sharp look and say, what do we want to see in that zone eventually? Do we want more drive-in and drive-outs with the full expectation that would be, are we talking about retail? Well, retail's gone to the big box there. So this side of the street is not really set up for big box, which is what's been occurring there. You know, when Walmart was coming in, the concept was that these businesses leapfrog. One sets down, then you have a Lowe's, then you have a Target, and they keep going. This side of the town, this close in, is not going to work for any big box. So now we're saying, okay, what will go in here? You know, smaller businesses, B1s.
Well, I would anticipate more smaller businesses, yeah.
Businesses that still require,
It would require frontage on a main artery, as
Which
opposed
they'll
to say,
have.
which, you know, office space can go someplace else.
Right.
You don't need it as much, you know, when you're not trying to draw traffic into your facility as such.
Yeah, I mean, besides the auto dealerships along that, in this B3 zone, the rest are really, you know, neighborhood focused as opposed to being a regionally focused item like the B3 is set up to do.
and by nature, the automobile focused stuff is not going to go that deep in this area, just because
Right.
the traffic's not conducive to it.
Right.
They won't. They just can't handle the traffic we pulled in on that. You look further down near Cook Drive. We have lots for sale right on Cook Drive right now. Further down, that's the other side of the University Mall. So there are properties for sale there. There are empty areas in the manufacturing that are for sale, and some of them have been sitting there for quite some time. It may be too far away for most people, but the fact is we're still talking a car culture business strip. And I agree with what you're saying, RJ. We have to look down the road, and in one sense we're reacting, but this is part of the duties of a city, is to facilitate what the people want on some level. I mean, with, you know, and with a balance. But again, I look at what the CVS complex and Holiday Inn Express complex looks, and if that's what we're trying to build, that's probably not suitable to duplicate that on the north side of the state.
And I would agree with that.
Okay, so what are we trying to facilitate by expanding the V3 at this point, and see what happens on that?
Retracting it.
Well,
I say, well, actually retract, never mind. I was going to use your example because the footprint of the newest development required a large amount of property in one owner. And it looks like it would, backing out the Holiday Inn, it would easily fit, for the most part, on the sizes of lots that we have as B3. I mean, and it would be a disaster because there would be so many left turns, and there are already way more problems with congestion in that area if we'd have left turns going out. And I think the main thing is safety. And I would also say that we have not rezoned this area, I bet, since 1969, when it was a 2-lane road strung out. And I think the safety issues are paramount at this point in time. I've been on there enough times when there's been an accident, fender bender, trying to get something quick and waiting in traffic. So my support for this is based on safety more than anything else, and neighborhood preservation as well.
and again, the other thing we still have restrictions on is that deed restrictions for that section near Strathmore and Utah.
Right.
And the other unknown, of course, is the children's services area there too, which is outside the city limits, but a good chunk of property there that you could see someday flipping over to something different, much different, and we don't know what that is. It's not even zoned, is it?
Right.
So we've got a few loose ends in there, granted.
I'd like to throw out too, in that whole area that's R2s and has been forever, there's still only 10 duplexes in that entire area as of to date. And with the requested rezoning, 4 of those would be in the R2 and the other 6 would still be scattered out and throughout the R1. So it doesn't really take in all the duplexes because they're so scattered, the ones that are there. So.
Right, yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I'm not as concerned for the, a developer that's holding on to a vacant lot in the R2 zone that hasn't been developed yet.
All the vacant lots that are in R2 would remain R2 per their proposal.
Okay.
So.
There you go. All right, I guess I would like to put a motion forward that we do set up a public hearing for May 2nd, that we have public notice go out in the newspaper 30 days before that public hearing. I also believe we should do it at the community center. We'll set up the time at a later meeting once everyone has time to look at their schedules on the 2nd.
Also look at the schedule of the community center.
Yeah, that'd be true. So thereabouts the May 2nd, I guess. So, and then that we also sent out the written notice to the B3 to R2 changes and R2 to B3 and their adjacent properties. And again, we'll have to confirm what date that is before this can be sent out.
You want a second on that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, everyone. The next item of communications is the B zone. We didn't get much of a chance. Let's see here. Oh, you did get it, Char. Thank you. Char had sent out I made a couple of revisions to the B zone proposed changes that I made available at the last meeting. I highlighted those changes in this as well. Mayor, I know you were there at that discussion, so you may have some more suggestions or comments. One thing, since this meeting is running already getting close to 1, I thought we could maybe table this and give you more time to look at it, unless you
Okay.
feel.
No, I haven't had a chance to look
Okay.
at it. Thank you. So I see it in red and I see some highlighted
Yeah,
yellow.
basically I took the existing one and I guess kept all the changes on there. So if it's
yes.
struck through, it was in the existing code. If it's underlined in red, it's new.
Okay.
And then highlighted as new since the last time we discussed it. So
Okay. New and new.
yeah, exactly.
So
I mean,
we're tabling the B3 ground floor interpretation.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll
That's
come
my
back to it, right?
suggestion. Someone like to second that?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling till, I think the next meeting would be fine. Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you again. All right, I don't have any other communications on the agenda.
I
Do you
have a few. I don't know if
Okay.
it falls under announcements of the business or not.
Go ahead.
A couple things. First of all, we're waiting for an opinion for Meadow Lane, I believe. The law director, did you
Yeah, I
anybody
did
receive that?
send it back to him. He sent me an email that he had received my request and that he would try to look at it before the meeting, but I don't think that happened, so.
Okay. The other one is that you'll see in your packet a powers and duties of the ACRPC. This is actually the Athens County Regional Planning Commission. I intended to actually put Nancy Bain on it, but then looking at section Article 2, Section B, it says one representative for each 5,000 as determined by the last federal decennial census. But further down it says, let's see, all members of the ARPC representing municipal corporation will be designated by the Planning Commission of said municipal corporation. We can have no less than 2 and no more than 5. We have right now 4 members on it. Let's see, Paul Logue, of course, has been appointed to that. He's it's logical in that sense. Myself, I sit on it. Chris Fowl does for the city council side of it. And Harry Konshiga used to do it in the past for many years. Really, so I want somebody on this board to do it, commission to do it as well. One of the things they rely on us quite a bit is to make quorum. They always look to the city because it's inside the city usually. Although now it's moved to the plains, I believe, right? Paul?
Yes.
It's in the plains,
Yes.
meets the plains.
Yes, soil and water.
So I would like to make if I look at that, it needs approval of this board, and I'd like to make a motion to put Nancy in place. Mostly because she's a professor in land geography and land use, and she knows a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of things.
And she can talk trash, and we've got solid waste issues coming up. I would second that motion.
Not only that, she also gets up early in the morning, I know.
Put a
It's 8 o'clock.
recommendation. 8 o'clock.
Yes, and as I say, they usually look towards everybody showing up. When we show up, they're happy to see the Pauls showing up quite regularly.
All right, was there any further discussion by any of the members about that nomination? All right, if that's the case, all those in favor of appoint or can we recommend or do we appoint?
I think we recommend, and
Or
they actually
We will
designate.
designate
That's the
Nancy
verb.
Bain as the representative.
Nancy, you willing to do this?
I will do it.
All right.
We're not insisting now. I know how much you love to
You
do
don't
this
have a
stuff.
choice.
I'll do it for a while.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
One abstention.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh,
thank you,
yeah,
RJ.
I guess I abstain too.
Yeah,
So it's
Okay.
0. 2.
all right, it still passes. All right,
Okay.
any other communications that you said?
Well, actually, it falls under announcements, of course, is that there will be a town hall meeting. I'm kind of jumping ahead of it it has to do with housing and the housing needs for people with disabilities. It will be April 12th, 6:30 it's a town hall meeting, basically, that we'll be discussing the topic of housing. We'll see more about it, but I'm just letting you know ahead of time. There's also this next Monday, there's going to be a CDBG public hearing for the formula grant money.
Okay.
That'll be the first of two, where we take input of where to direct our money. It's a formula money that standardly runs about 70 to 80,000, depending on how much they cut it and how the formula works out. Just so you know. And the last thing, of course, I think there's a ribbon cutting for integrated services, March 28th, just so you know as well.
Okay.
I don't know the time offhand, but I can look it up. Oh yeah, fracking forum too. That's the 27th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what time is that?
7 p.m. in Baker Theater. That's for Ohio University taking their public forum comments.
Okay.
That's regarding.
For their campus and lands.
On March 27th?
Mhm.
Okay. Any other communications? All right, next on the agenda, reports from our city planner and director of development and code enforcement. Would like to lead us off.
I just, two things I have. Lori Burgett, the Athens County planner, she just recently submitted our draft of the Athens County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan to the Ohio Emergency Management Agency. OEMA has to approve the plan as written before we can adopt it. She hopes to hear back from them within a month or so, and assuming that plan is green lighted by OEMA, then all the local jurisdictions, municipalities, villages, etc. within Athens County will be asked to approve that document.
Okay.
And we've been working on it for a long time. I know probably about 4 or 5 months ago, I either directed you guys to reading drafts or provided you with copies of the draft. So hopefully we'll have that wrapped up very soon. The other update I had in relation to the, is it the Laurels of Athens, Sean? The
Yes.
nursing facility out on Columbus Road, Columbus Circle Drive. We had a meeting with local engineer Jeff Maiden on Friday. Mr. Maiden has been working with the land developers to complete the process with FEMA in relation to getting a letter of map removal for the fill dirt and all the engineering work that was done within the city's floodway, or the FEMA floodway. We reviewed everything on Friday, and Mr. Maiden was expected to submit everything to FEMA this week. Everything looked good based on the proposal all the way back in 1996. There was one point through Mr. Maiden's engineering modeling that did show a very slight rise in the floodway. That rise was 2/100ths of a foot, so we're talking less than a quarter of an inch. The original application from 1996 also showed that there was an anticipated 2/100ths of an inch rise.
Okay.
So it does look like everything should be sufficient based on what FEMA signed off on
Right.
back in 96, but we'll be waiting to hear from them. Could be anywhere from 3 months to who knows how long before FEMA is satisfied and has everything reviewed, but I would expect everything to be wrapped up with that by the end of summer. So
Well, isn't the facility in operation now, or?
it is, yeah, I
They-
believe so.
I guess how long do they, is there a window of opportunity that they have to get FEMA to adjust to, or they just basically have to pay the higher insurance rate for the time being?
I'm not 100% sure on how that part works. FEMA's always, in my opinion at least, and in a lot of other people's opinion that work with FEMA, it's always been really gray with how
Okay.
that part's handled. The conditional letter of map removal, that was approved all the way back in 1996, and
Okay,
so all
so
the
that's what
still
they're still
work started
basing it off.
happening.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it is open right now. I would imagine that they are paying flood insurance based on an
Right.
assumption that it's in the floodway, and that it's in violation until FEMA tells otherwise.
Okay.
So,
All right. But again, the plans here were approved based on the fill dirt going in to take it out of the floodways.
that's correct, right.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other?
It's a long
items?
process. We have one more Clomar still outstanding in the city, assuming this one gets completed, and we're trying to figure out ways to get that one resolved, and
Okay.
everything's good with FEMA. I would not expect to see many more of these coming forward in the next 10 or 20 years. It's just most of the work in Athens is done by now.
Okay. Comments, questions? Mr. Paskey?
I touched on it a couple weeks ago, but Friday is our first meeting with the Keep Southeast Ohio Beautiful Collaborative. So I'm going to get this terminology right.
Okay.
We'll start initiating to develop a program that will guide us, I guess, to the next level and include educational activities, cleanup opportunities, and social media platforms. So that'll be this Friday. And the other thing is, even though I'm wearing my Ohio State red, go Bobcats.
You know where we have the OU student senate doing the beautification? Are they coordinating with this Keep Ohio Beautiful?
Yeah, I'm going to be meeting with the move out and beautification, all that here in the next. Actually, we're trying to set some stuff up for next week. The keeping the clean initiative. It's not clean anymore, but that group is going to meet next Friday. We're trying to put it together. We just haven't tied it all together yet. Working with Mr. Newman on move out and beautification and everything. So I didn't bring it up because it isn't all cast in stone yet, but we are working on that right now to finalize
It's
it.
in train. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
All right. Anything else?
No.
I thank you both. Opportunities for citizens to speak about items not covered on the agenda. Announcements and other business. Mayor did announce, and there's been a series of announcements made at today's meeting with the upcoming events. Do you have any more?
Yeah, well, actually, Nancy reminded me that we do have the solid waste plan has been upgraded and ratified, and it's on its way to the EPA. This is for the two-county system, how we do with our recyclables and solid waste.
Okay.
It was ratified, 2 weeks ago? About? And Logan changed their vote and made it possible for it to pass.
That's good.
Which is very good. And I'd also like to thank Paul Logue for doing a lot of the FEMA Clomar and Lomar material.
Thank you, as always, both of you, for your service. Anything else? Our next meeting is scheduled for April the 4th at noon in this same meeting place. Again, it would just be the May 2nd one that would be possibly changing its location, and we'll let you know when that has been determined.
And so would you say that we wouldn't probably not have Meadow Lane on the 4th, but it would instead go to the whatever 18th? Or
Depends
how
if
do
we
you
get
see it?
information from.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd have to get information from the
Law
law
director.
director first, and then to know what type of direction who's
Okay.
ever handling it with the city to give the landowner.
That and the
And
fact
the
that when
adjacent.
they want to come too. I mean,
Right.
that was the last they said, but they, subject to change as well.
And the neighbors.
Correct.
Okay.
They're calling me weekly, want to know,
I
so.
don't doubt.
What- All right, so hopefully we'll have an answer by the next meeting, and I guess they'll have to determine what course they want to take next.
Right.
So.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.